All right, the battle for Seattle here. Kentucky and Mark Pope versus Gonzaga. Kentucky coming off a loss. What do you expect from them in this game, Zach?
Yeah, Kentucky, I think, has definitely been one of the better, I guess, surprises of the early college basketball season. We're almost at a month now. Crazy. But yeah, they're a lot of fun to watch, actually. I think it's the first time, like, Kentucky fans are watching like a true college basketball team. I think in the past they've had a lot of obviously crazy. This team's not as talented as any of the teams they've had in the past, but as we know, and anybody that watches enough college basketball knows, talent doesn't win games in college basketball. It can, but definitely doesn't win championships. You got to be able to play as a team and play smart. All the cliche stuff, but and Kentucky's really doing that. I mean, they don't have a star at all, really. And so far, it's been kind of a pretty good thing, I'd say. They definitely looked really good. I thought they were great, and I love what I saw early on in that game against Duke in the Champions Classic. I mean, once again, like it's a good, well-rounded team. Obviously, the loss to Clemson happens. Clemson's a good team. Nothing. I'm not like, oh, they suck because of it. Like when it happens. But yeah, I just really like their makeup offensively. I think they've got either 4 or 5 guys in double figures, at least close to it. I think Otega Owe is probably the leading scorer right now, but on any given night, they can kind of go one way or another. They're not particularly they don't run a lot of bigs. They're kind of I don't want to say they're smaller because they're not smaller. They're actually like they're tall and their guards are tall, but they don't run like a slower like they'll have a 6'7", 6'6" guy at the 4. Whether it's Jackson Robinson. Sometimes they'll run kind of Kobe Brea and that sort of. Kobe Brea, incredible 3-point shooter, by the way.
Yes.
He's got to be up there nationally. He might be at the top. He's shooting like something like 60% from 3. It's ridiculous. But transferred from Dayton. They've got a lot of options offensively. They kind of do a lot of things well. They defend them pretty well. They play really fast, So don't get fooled by some of the scores. Like when I say they defend well, they really do. They're efficient. If you look at their efficiency numbers, they're really, really solid defensively. They'll allow 60 or 70 to in a bye game, but it's because they're scoring 110 and there's so many possessions in their games because they like to. It's just like Mark Pope's BYU teams.
Right.
We saw it last year. One of the higher rated defensive teams metric wise, but they'd allow a lot of points because they love to run and gun. They take a lot of threes. Really sound offensive team. Don't turn the ball over much. Generally, they're pretty sound. They take good shots. They take threes and good looks at the rim. They're not going to take a lot of the long twos. I know some of my Indiana friends love the long 2. Shout out Mike Woodson.
Yep.
Worst shot in basketball. He's coaching in 1930 right now. It's ridiculous. Kentucky's look great. I'm impressed with what they've done here in the first month of the Mark Pope era. A lot to like if you're a Kentucky fan. I know we probably have a lot, especially in the Cincinnati area. They've looked great. Obviously, I mean, their one big test was against Duke and Clemson. That tough loss at Clemson, but nothing to be ashamed of. It doesn't change anything, in my opinion. I'm really excited to see how they fare in a pretty much road environment. It's a road environment in Seattle tomorrow.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. For a lot of these things. Mark Pope has really impressed me. I guess I didn't buy into it at the beginning of when he was first hired, just because BYU, that loss to Duquesne, kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. But great coach. Really like his style of play, and the guys that he brought in have really gelled so far. I've really enjoyed watching them. Obviously, the win against Duke was awesome. And I agree. I wouldn't take the loss to Clemson in the SEC AC Challenge too much to heart. Obviously, you never want to lose, but Clemson is, in my opinion, a top 25 basketball team.
Absolutely, yeah.
You mentioned a couple guys here. Otega Owe is their leading scorer at 16 points per game. He's been pretty phenomenal, I think.
Yeah.
Defensively, guy plays really hard. And offensively, he showed a lot of stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma transfer. He kind of has that Big 12, like lanky guard kind of feel to him, and he plays like a Big 12, guard, tough, hard nose, and gets to the rim a lot. Not a great 3-point shooter at all, but yeah, he gets to the rim, gets to the free throw line. So yeah, fun guy to my type of guy, and your type of guy too.
Yeah, absolutely. Love Otega. Kobe Brea, we watched him at Dayton. You're right. He's shooting 60% from the three.
Is he? Yeah, that's
on
crazy.
Pretty solid volume too.
Oh yeah.
He's a sniper. Great player to have off the bench. And then Amari Williams, a guy who we haven't talked about that much, but he's playing pretty well.
Absolutely.
Averaging close to, if not totally, a double-double this year. Yeah, he's averaging 10 and 10. Good defender as well. Yeah, he wasn't really highly regarded as a transfer, I think, coming out of Drexel.
Was it Drexel? I was going to say LaSalle. It was one of those Philly schools, yeah.
Yeah, you're right there. The one thing that concerns me for Kentucky, two things, and you can say if these are valid or not. Number one is a short-term thing, and number two is a long-term thing. Short-term, in this game against Gonzaga, Mark Pope has been talking about how Lamont Butler might not play because of an injured ankle. That's tough, especially because Nembhard is a good point guard and you want to get some ball pressure on him, which Lamont Butler is pretty good at doing. That'd be tough. And then number two is just a lack of a first-round talent type lottery guy. I know that shouldn't be a huge concern, but if you look back on the majority of the national championship teams in the last 20 years or so, the majority of them have had a lottery pick on their team. So what do you think of those two things, maybe Lamont Butler being out first?
Yeah, I mean, Lamont Butler is he's just kind of, I don't want to call him a glue guy because he's more than that, but he's important to every team he plays on. We saw it at San Diego State. He's just kind of a guy that I don't want to say like he keeps everything together. He's smart. He's great. Obviously, great passer. I think he's a big, towards the top of the team or even league assists wise. But yeah, I mean, he can score the basketball. Good player. He's an okay shooter. Not gonna really shoot too many threes in general. I'm trying to find. Yeah, he's 7 for 21 this year. So yeah. Another guy that is a guard, gets to the rim, kind of a little similar to Otega Owe. Play a little differently, but great defensive guy. Yeah, he's an important piece. It'll be tough if they don't have him for sure.
Yeah. And moving on to Gonzaga. The Zags here, as you said, kind of functioning as the home team here in Seattle, in their home state. They're a confusing team to me because I don't know if you know this, but I picked them as my national champion earlier in the year. And then they blew out Baylor, and I was like, oh, yeah, I got this one in the bag. But then they've started to struggle a little bit, that loss to West Virginia. And stats wise, they have a couple of things that kind of concern me a little bit. Graham Ike is the number one thing that concerns me a little bit. He's their leading scorer and rebounder at 13.8 points, 6.5 rebounds, but he's only averaging 18 minutes a game. And then they got some other guys too. Ajayi, I thought would be a little better. I know he's looked good in stretches, but only averaging 20 minutes a game, 7.6 points. And then you got Nembhard, who's playing well. He's averaging 10 points, 10 assists, but not really a big scorer, only averaging 39.7% from the field. Talk to me about your thoughts about this Gonzaga team.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, they're definitely an interesting team. They look great to start the year. They played, to their credit, a pretty solid schedule so far with Baylor. They had ASU shortly thereafter, who's a good team, by the way. Big ASU fan this year. They didn't look great in the Bahamas. I'll say that. It kind of looked like at the beginning of the year, and even in the bye games too. Obviously, look, they have a top 5 offense every year, seemingly. Like
right.
They're going to score 1 billion points, but where they're not winning these national titles when it feels like they have the team to. And I think once again this year, they certainly feels like they have the team to win a national title, but they need to be really good defensively. No matter how good you are offensively, it is extremely unlikely to win a national championship if you don't have like a top at least 20 defense, something like that.
Right.
Probably even better. And it really looked like at the beginning of the year they were kind of playing, that top tier defense. They looked like they had the defense that was good enough. And then, they went to the Bahamas and it didn't look great, especially in that game against West Virginia. Really in the game against Indiana, I think that said more about Indiana, to be honest, because I didn't think Gonzaga played very well in that game either, and they still won by like 15. But that shows more about how it's not in a great spot the Hoosiers are at. But I didn't think they played well really in any of the games. I'm forgetting who their other game in the Bahamas was. Was it Davidson?
Might have been Davidson, yeah.
Yeah, scratch that, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think they beat them by like 30 or something, but
yeah,
it's to be expected. No disrespect to Davidson, but
right.
This is Gonzaga. But yeah, I do like their team. It's definitely, I think, similar to Kentucky. They don't really have that's where they kind of run into some troubles. Like you need a bucket, go ISO ball. They have guys that can. And honestly, I think that's a bit of a recurring theme with many, many top teams in college basketball this year.
Yes.
I've talked about it with UC. They kind of, they've got guys that can step up and, like when your offense is struggling, when the other team throws something at you defensively that messes with your flow offensively, you got to have a guy that, can step up and say, okay, let me get to the foul line. Let me get inside. Let me pull up the defense. Yeah. And they certainly have guys that can. I think, Kentucky has guys that can. UC has guys that can. But somebody's got to step up.
Right.
Graham Ike can't be the guy that's doing that. Obviously,
yes,
the leading scorer. He's a big guy. He's got to stop getting into foul trouble. That's his issue. That's why he's only playing 18 minutes a game. But they've got good enough bigs, I think. Huff and Ben Gregg, good enough, I think. They've got good wing presence, kind of with Ajayi. I'd almost call, like obviously Nembhard's your point guard, but I'd almost call Battle. Battle plays more like a guard, but I'd almost consider him a bit of a wing too. The way he can kind of get to the bucket, shoot the three, more 3 and D but less D kind of guy.
Yeah.
Dusty Stromer's been okay. They've got good shooters. Not a lot of volume shooters. Caleb Battle shoots too much. He does that everywhere, but
Yes.
that's Caleb Battle. But yeah, I I don't know. Like on paper, it just doesn't feel like a team that is truly like one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the country. But I think that's college basketball this year. I mean, how many teams really feel like it? I think I'd put
Right.
Auburn,
Absolutely.
and Kansas. I'd say I know they both lost last couple
Yeah.
of days, but in my opinion, I think Auburn, Kansas, and I maybe Iowa State in
Yeah.
terms of teams that really feel like on paper when you watch them, like yeah, that's a team that I think is going to be at the top the whole year, kind of thing. I'm not. There's really just not a lot of those teams. I think it's anyone's game,
Right.
especially come March. I think we're going to have one of the more chaotic tournaments, but we've got a long way to go until we get there. But yeah, Gonzaga kind of falls into that category. It definitely has the talent to be up there. Great coaching, obviously. Mark Few been there forever, but yeah, there's definitely some holes there that they need to shore up. I think they can. They definitely can be that great defensive team. They've got guys to do it. Um, they just can't have lapses and let guys beat them like they did against West Virginia with Tucker DeVries and Javon Small. I think West Virginia is a solid team. I think they're not getting enough credit. I think they'll be right in the tournament picture, the bubble picture, come February and March. I'm not going to declare them a tournament team, but I think they'll be right in that mix, middle of the Big 12.
Hmm.
So not like the worst loss ever, but it was almost, it was the way they lost. It just
Yeah.
you can't let a team like West Virginia go punch for punch with you in a kind of
Yes.
a high scoring affair like that, and then outduel
Right.
you in overtime. So both these teams definitely have holes. I think obviously Gonzaga's played the tougher schedule, but I probably like what I've seen from Kentucky a little bit more. But I think these are both teams. I think it'd be foolish to argue that Kentucky has a higher upside than Gonzaga. I'm not sure there are many teams that have a higher upside than Gonzaga, but they gotta put it together, and they do kind of lack that, as you said, that lottery pick. They might. I don't know. I'm not big with NBA draft stuff, so I don't
Yeah.
know. But just watching them, they don't have that like alpha guy, to
Right.
go.
Right. I think that's a better word. Like the guy
Yeah,
that can, take over a game.
right.
Um, Two similar teams here. Two good teams. Two teams with some flaws. Two teams with good fan bases. Gonzaga favored by 5.5 points here. What is your prediction for this game?
Yeah, I think again another one of these games. I think you're going to see a ton of points. Both these teams like to play
Hmm.
really, really fast, especially Kentucky and Mark Pope. We know that. Few and Gonzaga teams, they actually, I don't think they play quite as fast as they have in the past. Like in the past, they'll be like at the top of the country in tempo wise. I remember last year they kind of toned it down. They were a bit slower and more deliberate offensively. They're not they're not like Kentucky level in terms of tempo, but they do like to run up and down. Obviously, Kentucky does. So we'll see a lot of points, good offenses. It'll be a fun watch, that's for sure. Definitely a
Yes.
satisfying couple of satisfying offenses to watch. And there'll be some defensive moments, I'm sure, too.
Absolutely.
But I think Gonzaga wins. They got a bit of the home court. Um, One of the bigger games on their schedule for sure. I think Gonzaga wins in a high scoring game. Let's say, I think they cover too. I'll say 90-81.
90-81. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with the Gonzaga cover, and I think that this game is going to be played into the 80s or 90s. I would like Kentucky a little better. And this may just be biased as a guy who likes guards who defend. I would really like Lamont Butler, and having him banged up and or not playing.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure if I trust. Obviously Kirk Creesa, I love him as a backup guard. A guy who can get hot a little bit, guy who can talk some trash. I like him, but I don't know if I like him as opposed to Lamont Butler. And Mark Pope was talking today, like Trent Perry's gonna get minutes and stuff like that. Like
Oh,
I'm just not sure.
Travis Perry, I think it is. Yeah,
Travis Perry, yeah, Travis Perry, good
I remember
shout
he was
there.
a big UC recruit. Yeah,
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 no disrespect to him. I'm sure he'll have a great career, but he is a true freshman
yeah.
in a team with just a bunch of grown men. So I think Nemhard takes the lead in this battle. I like him as a guard. Um, I think Caleb Battle is going to step up, hit some shots. Obviously, can score. He's an interesting player because he can score the ball, but he's also kind of a bit of a shot chucker at times.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take Gonzaga 93-83. I'm going to take them by 10 points here. Gonzaga fans, Kentucky fans, should be a good watch in the midst of a great day of college football. So hope you tune in and hope you tune in for this recap that we do. It's going to be an exciting one. See you guys.